Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So this video, it's one that pains me to make, but one that I feel is important to make because of a certain number of events which I am observing and which I know will leave a lot of people feeling sad, hurt, and in financial ruin. So what am I talking about? Well, in Central and West Africa, speaking specifically of Cameroon, Central African Republic, and Liberia, Sierra Leone, and to a certain extent, Cote d'Ivoire, a new kind of Ponzi scheme has come to light. So basically what goes on is you have these promoters who go around knowing that cryptocurrency is in the public's eye. They're talking about Dogecoin, how it's grown exponentially. They talk about Bitcoin, how it's grown exponentially. And you have all these small investors in Africa, West Africa especially, and to a certain extent, South Africa, who don't know how to get into this market. They're trying to participate in this market. They look at the foreign media, BBC, Euronews, RT, and all they're getting, Al Jazeera is information about people making millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. So they want a piece of the pie. So this is where these scammers come in. They come in with a Ponzi scheme, and it's crazy how they set it up. They tell you that, hey, pay us this much and we are going to invest it in, let's say, crude oil, or we will buy Bitcoin or Dogecoin for you, and your money is in the market. And they promise up to 100, 200, 300% returns in a year. Crazy, crazy numbers. And the saddest part of this is the people who sign up to these schemes are usually the well-educated, who actually go to the banks and they go to family, relatives, and they borrow money and give to these guys. It is crazy, but that's exactly what's happening in West Africa right now as we speak. Today is April 28th, 2021. And there's no way to stop, let's say, a loved one whom you see being pulled into one of these schemes. If you try to talk to them, they will be like, hey, you made your money, now you don't want us to make our money. And then they always know somebody, either a neighbor, an in-law, a friend of a friend, a cousin of a friend, who is making so much money from the scheme, and that convinces them that it's something legit. So, well, let's go through some of the schemes that they've had in Africa recently. Look at here. This is a case from late 2020, and it happened in Maryland in the United States. This is the Securities and Exchange Commission charging two individuals, Dennis Jolly and John Frimpong, with Arlie Johnson. As you can see, those are their names. That they conspired and defrauded African immigrants in Maryland, promising risk-free returns of 6 and 42%. So think about that for a moment. You just have to put in so much money and then you get 42%. No risk involved. Many people will go and take their life savings, borrow money from the banks as much as they can, throw it into these schemes, hoping to get a 42% return. Usually the early ones in some cases make out, but the return is so crazy that most of the people who can actually bail out are encouraged to reinvest their money. So they put in the money and nobody is actually pulling out the money. And it's crazy how this how these people, I wouldn't say people are gullible, but people are not financially educated and they get pulled into these scams. So unfortunately, the scam has taken serious foothold in Cameroon, in the Central African Republic, and I think it's Liberia, where this guy goes around and says, hey, you put in so much and you pull out so much. It's crazy, and people are giving money, lining up to give all their hard-earned cash to this guy. I talked to a few friends and relatives and just gave them the heads up. There is no such thing as free money. You're giving money, there's no product, there's no service you are buying, and you are getting all these returns. Where do you think the money is coming from? Okay, so here is another one, crowd wants, which targets Africa. It's on the BBC, and I noticed also a few YouTubers from Cameroon have tried to warn others. And actually, when you say, you try to warn others, you get attacked in social media. You get cursed out, and everybody accuses you that because you made some money, now you don't want them to make money in cryptocurrency. And it's sad. There's just nothing you can do. It's almost like the evangelical churches in Africa, which are very different from the evangelicals that you might know maybe in the United States or Europe. There it's almost like a cult. And it's sad how these people, take advantage of gullible Africans. All right. So you can see this one. This is another scam that unraveled in South Africa. It was called Bitcoin Wallet. And you can see people are reported to have queued overnight and slept outside Bitcoin Wallet's offices in a bid to invest their hard-earned cash. That's how bad it is. People are desperate in Africa. They don't have investment vehicles, and sadly, the governments do nothing. Because, well, most of the governments, if the people don't have money in their pockets, then they are more worried about their day-to-day lives instead of questioning the government about governance, infrastructure, education, healthcare. So most of the time in West Africa, the governments just fold their arms and they watch. It's sad. It's sad. So as you can see, this is another one that occurred in South Africa. And the guy made away with $644 million. And this one, let's see the date. There's no date right there. But the thing is, the South African regulator has been warning people that there is nothing they can actually do with cyber cryptocurrencies and things happening on the internet, because you give your hard-earned cash. There's no traceability. There's no standard of reporting of how money moves. And so there's basically nothing they can do. And it's sad to see people losing their lives savings to these scammers. All right, you might ask, what's a Ponzi scheme? Let's refresh our memory here real quick. So this is Charles Ponzi. And he's the most famous guy who did this scheme at a very large scale early on in the 20th century. And that's why it's named after him. So let's read what Wikipedia says about this. And remember, a Ponzi scheme is also different from a pyramid scheme. So a Ponzi scheme is a form of fraud that lures investors and pays profits to earlier investors with funds from more recent investors. The scheme leads victims to believe that profits are coming from legitimate business activity, e.g., product sales or successful investments, and they remain unaware that other investors are the source of the funds. A Ponzi scheme can maintain the illusion of sustainable business as long as new investors contribute new funds, and as long as most of the investors do not demand full repayment and still believe in the non-existent assets they are purported to own. So you see, therein lies the difference between a Ponzi scheme and a pyramid scheme. For a pyramid scheme, you need and you rely on new people coming into I would say the scheme, And once people stop, you can't recruit more people. One person is supposed to bring like three people, and then the three people are supposed to bring three people, which makes the pyramid scheme not very sustainable, and it usually fizzles out within a matter of weeks to months. Whereas a Ponzi scheme, because of the outrageous amount of returns, people tend to say, hey, the money I made, the 100% I made, now my money has doubled, put everything back into the investment. So people don't actually cash out early on the Ponzi scheme, which is why at times it is sustainable over a longer period. But ultimately, they all crash and people lose money. So the Ponzi scheme that is happening in Cameroon right now, some of the one of them is that they say you buy you buy barrels of oil. Where is these barrels of oil stored? Do you guys have a brick and mortar office? Do you? Who is the CEO? None of those questions are answered, and people turn a blind eye because they're making so much money, purportedly. And the second one, the guy, he claims that he has an airline and he's also developing a real estate investment vehicle, which will have a resort like a hotel, conference center, etc., and a farm also. So people are looking at all of these tangible assets and thinking that that's their money at work. Whereas they forget that these things are very, very vanishingly small compared to the amount of money that has been injected into this particular Ponzi scheme. And the guy is a very savvy marketer. He uses social media to leverage his position. But like I said, there's that YouTuber who wanted to have an interview with him, and he totally refused. All right, let's continue. So now that we know what the Ponzi scheme is, let's go quickly and look at how a Ponzi scheme unravels, how it crashes. So there's about three major ways in which a Ponzi scheme will crash. The first one is where the operator vanishes, basically taking everybody's money, and he just disappears into thin air. And then, so that's one way in which the scheme will unravel. People come and they're like, hey, I want to invest or I want my money back. And the guy is gone with your money. He's gone, nowhere to be found. The second one is since the scheme requires a continual stream of investment to fund higher returns, if the number of new investors slows down, the scheme collapses as the operator can no longer pay the promised returns. The higher the returns, the greater the risk of the Ponzi scheme collapsing. Such liquidity crisis often triggers panics as more people start asking for their money, similar to a bank run. So what that would mean is in the day and age of social media, let's say somebody put in a sizable amount of money, and on paper they're showing that he has this incredible and great and huge returns. Now the person shows up at the Ponzi scheme office and he asks, hey, I want to withdraw my money. And they say, hey, no, it's not available. The person makes a social media post. I'm here at the office trying to withdraw my money and they're telling me I can't withdraw my money. What will happen immediately is the next person will show up wanting to withdraw their money. And if that doesn't happen, then within, I would say about 10-15 minutes, you would have a crowd trying to withdraw their money all at once, and that typically would lead to the scheme unraveling. And finally, you have external market forces such as a sharp decline in the economy, which can hasten the collapse of a Ponzi scheme. For example, the Madoff investment scandal during the market downturn of 2008. Since they often cause many investors to attempt to withdraw part or all of their funds sooner than they had intended. So in the day and age of the virus, if something major happens, or let's say a major catastrophe happens, or there's instability with the government, like we just saw happen in Chad, where the president suddenly was killed, that may trigger some sense of instability, and then people might run on the scheme and want to withdraw their money all at once, and that will quickly unravel the Ponzi scheme. So It's very sad. I know a lot of people will be losing money. Lots of money will be lost. A few might have made out, but the money, the returns are so tempting and alluring that it doesn't give you any incentive to pull out your money. So people just keep pumping money into this scheme. I know within about the next 2-3 months, this thing will unravel, and we will be back here to lick our wounds with our brothers from Central and West Africa after that has come to pass. Anyways, thanks for watching, and if you know anybody from West Central Africa, please just do your little part. Try to tell them, warn them, and plead with them. Remember, this thing is almost like a cult, and they might accuse you that you don't want them to make money, but just put the word out there, spread the word, educate them, and hopefully loved ones and relatives don't end up losing their shirts. Thanks for watching, and see you guys on the next video. Bye.